Improv Yak with Carla Guests.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'm not looking at you for just a second because I have to press record. Now they're recording it up there in the booth because that's professional. But then I'm getting a backup as well. And it's not working. My backup's not working. Fine, we'll move on. That's cool. We got it up there, right? We're good to go. Cool. Thanks for coming out, everybody. This West Side Comedy Festival has been super fun this weekend, and this is the final evening of it, so I'm so excited to be here. So Improv Yak is a podcast I started maybe 4 years ago now, and I just wanted to talk to people about improv, but like in a nerdy way, where we really, really talk about it, with no pressure to be funny, so you don't have to laugh for the next hour, but you will, because the person that I have here is super funny anyways. And so, yeah, so I interviewed Mr. Paul F. Tompkins a few years ago. You can clap for him. And he was such an amazing guest, and he was just so kind, and also I couldn't get my equipment to work then either. And it took like 20 minutes, and he was very patient with me. And then it ended up working. But we're all good to go now. I'm just going to get one more official thumbs up that we're recording. Okay, great. Please welcome to the stage my Improv Yak guest, Mr. Paul F. Tompkins! I talked to him.
It just occurred to me to do it. I wanted to see what would happen. And I was not disappointed.
I can't remember the last time I squealed. Thanks for coming out. If you would like some water in a milk carton, there it is for you right there.
I can't bring myself to do it.
This
It just seems wrong.
Cool. So Paul, this is so exciting. You're such a nice guy. Everybody, just so you know, Paul's very funny, obviously, but he's actually a really nice guy.
Well, Carla, thank you for greeting me at the front of the theater by saying how much you appreciated me coming out, because if you don't live on the West Side, it's a big deal to come over here. And this is like a true testament to our friendship.
I know.
Because there's a lot of people that would have asked me to come over here on a Sunday, and I would have said, no, I don't do that. But Carla...
It's very nice.
Because Carla's my friend, because I like the show, I'm thrilled to be here. It even has West Side in the name.
It's really far.
It's really far.
It's really far. And then there's chaos everywhere around here.
I don't like the chaos part.
Cool. So,
How much we're talking about improv?
yeah.
I brought it back.
Improvisation.
That's right.
So the last time we talked, you had just started doing your amazing improv podcast called Spontaneation. Like you were doing it for like maybe 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, like it was a new thing still.
That was 3 years ago, Carla.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so
It does not seem like that long since we have spoken. We have not spoken since then.
we are not really friends. He was lying.
This is the third time we've met.
Anyway, yeah, so you had just started with Spontaneation, and it was so... Okay, so here's the thing, another thing about Paul, is that he's one of the world's best improvisers. It's true, I'm not exaggerating, and he's never taken an improv class.
That is true. That is true.
It is true.
The way I learned improv was honestly through osmosis from being around gifted, like honestly, like the best improvisers that you could be around, and doing podcasts. And because I started out in stand-up, I'd never been a character person before, and so that was really where I learned how to do improv, was doing characters, keeping a storyline going, taking whatever was thrown at me. And all I knew were the rudiments of improv, is that you go with what you were given, yes and, keep it going, heighten it, all the basics of the idea of the form. then watching what other people did, and I feel like I'm still learning, and I'm still taking something away from every time I improvise with people.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Very awesome. Yeah, I hear some applause. Someone was almost snapping for you. Okay, so you've been, to me, you seem like an improviser at heart, meaning like you live in the moment, you listen to people in conversation. Whenever we're talking, just as people, as friends, I always feel like you're invested in what I have to say. Maybe that's normal for everyone.
Carla, can I reveal to you? It's true. I am.
But you do seem like you're responding in the moment, I guess, to break it down.
No, I know
as
exactly.
As a human being.
I know exactly what you mean, and I think that also comes from stand-up, because one of the overlaps between stand-up and improv is that you have to be aware of what's going on. You have to be paying attention. You have to be listening, and even when you're up there by yourself, you have to be monitoring the room and knowing how the crowd is feeling. You have to be aware of any. I feel like I am too aware of distractions. Like if I had to stop doing comedy clubs because they. When they drop the check and everybody starts fucking just talking about the check, and then the show's still going on, and it's especially when you're the only person on stage at that moment. It drove me out of my mind. I was like, this just is not a way to do things. This is dumb, because it's at this point everything is ruined for me and the audience. But the reason is that the comedy club is in the bar and restaurant business first, and they're in the entertainment business second. But everyone else in that room is there for a completely different purpose, for one purpose. And so I started doing theaters, small theaters, and that experience to me
as a stand-up,
yeah, and that experience to me was okay. Now we're all on the same page here. The theater has no other agenda other than producing a show. I'm going to do a show, the audience is there to see a show, everyone is completely on the same page. All I have to worry about is selling enough tickets. And I know that if people are going to this place to see me, it's not because they won tickets from a raffle or they, somebody dragged them there, But for the most part, people will be there for the specific purpose of seeing a comedy show.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was like, that was what I wanted out of the experience. And with improv, especially doing live stuff, to have that experience, but also to be working with other people is it's joyous to me. It's, as much as I love stand up, I've taken a break from it because I got so into improv. It was fun to have a new thing to learn kind of later in my career, and it's still shiny and new to me. It's still like I hunger for it more, and so doing things like regular monthly shows with the people from the Thrilling Adventure Hour who are improvisers, and the people from Bajillion Dollar Properties. These are shows that I was a part of that feature a lot of improvisers, and then the shows end, and it's like, well, I still want to see these people and still want to play with them, and so to get like regular monthly shows to keep it going. Like even when I do start doing stand-up again, I still want to keep that going, and I want to figure out how to do both of those disciplines at the same time.
Cool. Yeah. So with Spontanea Nation, the last time that we talked about it, it was still relatively new, and you were really excited about that and bringing in new improvisers. It has shifted slightly over the years in format and in terms of your pool of improvisers getting even larger, which is great. So can you just talk a little bit about your experience of producing this improv podcast?
Yeah, it's been a really exciting and difficult and fun thing to do. Each show will have an interview guest and 3 improvisers in addition to me. By and large, some have had fewer improvisers. If the interview guest is also an improviser, then we like to bring them in, and then it's like, okay, thank God I don't have to book one person, you know. But it's been, you know, when I first did it, I was bringing in people that I knew from various places. And then I realized this is very, it seems very monochromatic. And looking around at the landscape of podcasts and improv, you know, there's not, I knew that there was more diversity than I was showing on this show. And so then I started to, you know, get to know and befriend and put on the show improvisers from a lot of different backgrounds that I think are underserved in this landscape, especially now when there's so much stuff. We have access to so much stuff all the time, and it's still kind of not enough. It's still not diversified enough. A big thing for me, I think because I came from a big family, is that I like the blending of worlds. I like a lot of people. And so if I can bring together, one of the fun things in the early days of Spontaneous Nation was bringing together people from various things that I had worked on, where I was the link between those people. And so to get them, first I started out in the earliest episodes, it was people that knew each other. So I knew that there would be chemistry. Then I would start mixing those groups together. Then I would start bringing in new people and getting to know their styles and how they worked, and then to mix them with people that I've just met with, people that I've known for a long time, and watch them come together. And that's been so much fun to do, and to be in the room where, I don't know, it's just like, it's like a birthday party every week, to be in this room where it's like, I like all these people and they're all different, and to see them working together and making each other laugh and just contributing so much from their varied experiences to tell the story, because it's a narrative improv as opposed to scenes, and which is my favorite, and to have these people all together in this room from all these different places, creating this story, it's been absolutely a joy.
And so do you know how many people now various guests you've had improvise with you?
I was looking at the list today, and it's a long list. I did not count the names, but it's a lot of people that I've tried to keep in fairly regular rotation. It's difficult sometimes because producing sucks. It's the least fun part of anything, right? It's homework. And like, even though there's help from Earwolf, my network, with booking the interview guests, the improvisers are up to me, and there's a lot of times where it's like, you know, I will get very far ahead and bank a bunch of episodes, and then when it comes time to go back in the studio, I'll nail down the dates, and then it's like, oh shit, that's tomorrow. That was such a long ways away a while ago, and now it's tomorrow, and I have to book, you know, I have 2 episodes back to back, and I have to book six improvisers, which just happened the other night.
Yeah.
And
I was still honored. You can always
I was glad. Carla was in there, and I was like, thank God, Carla. Let's go have some fun. And it was a really fun episode.
And it was two other improvisers I had never met before, but I knew of them, and so it was really exciting and you show up and you're like, I don't know who's going to be here today. Like, that's how it always is, but that's part of the fun of it, I think. I've actually had...
I hope so.
Yeah. It's great, Paul, don't worry. I've had, in my opinion, more successful spontaneations with people I had never met before.
I absolutely have seen that work out that way so many times. And for me, it's like, I am, everyone that's been referred to me by other improvisers, you know, like, hey, thanks for having me on the show. You know who else is great, you know, and everyone's come through. People that there hasn't been anyone that I've had on the show where I was like, I don't think I'm going to have that person on again, you know, like everyone, because it's such a network of colleagues, of people that know and trust each other, and they wouldn't be giving you the recommendation if they couldn't vouch for the person. And so it's like, well, if you're good and you're saying this person is good, I bet they will be, and then they are, you know. Yeah. So it's been fun to me to improvise with people, a bunch of people, for the first time.
Yeah.
You know? And still feel like, even though I don't know who this person is, I know that they have studied improv more than I have, and I still will get something out of what they do. You know?
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you found that there's a type of improviser that you enjoy? I mean, besides someone who's open and funny and
We talked about this a little bit
Did
on
we?
the last episode. Yeah.
I don't remember.
No.
I never re-listen, honestly.
I like, there are different types of people, and if I can, I like to get as many different types of improvisers, one of each of these types of improvisers. There are people that are like solid story movers who are like, they can be grounded but still silly, but they really hone in on what the story is, keep it going, and they will always be a person you can turn to if you feel like, what are we doing here? Where are we? I can't remember where we are, and then this person will always remember. Then there's people who are just bold initiators who will jump in always, and those people are great because they keep it moving as well. And then there's people that are just the chaos people who are they're like kind of they always go in a weird place, and that to me it's always good to have one of those people there. And then, because if everyone else is like a solid, more grounded person, they make it okay. They make it like, yes, this is part of the story now. Is that you ate helium or whatever, and you can't quite touch the earth,
Right.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself one of those people?
No, I don't think I'm any of those people, and I think that what I'm doing is holding on every episode. Every episode. It's like, I'm honestly, and that's not false modesty, it's like, I will let you guys decide what's happening here, and I'm along for the ride, and I'll try to contribute as much as I can. And there's plenty of times where I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good here, I'm going to throw this out, and then it's like, what are you talking about? And then they have to make sense of it. I'm like, okay, well, this is your problem now.
I think you're the button guy. You do the buttons a lot.
The way we move scenes on the show is we have a literal three-dimensional machine on the table where we record in the studio, and it's on stage when we do the show live. And it's three different colored buttons representing the past, the present, and the future. And so if we want to do a flashback, we hit this one button, and then we're back in the past. If we want to get back from the flashback, we hit this other button, or we go forward in time, and then there's a button in the middle that moves us laterally in time. It's a meanwhile thing. So there's some people that are very confident about the buttons, and some people are very hesitant about the buttons. And I'm
pretty hesitant.
You're pretty hesitant?
Yeah, which is weird because...
I don't know if I've ever seen you touch one of the buttons.
I don't think I have.
Have you never touched one?
I just kind of go with whatever.
I think you and Mark Evan Jackson are the only
Mark
people.
doesn't want to touch
Mark doesn't want. No, he still doesn't understand it. I explain it every episode. And every episode is like, it makes no sense to me.
But the purpose of it is an edit, so... Yeah. So you're an editor.
It's to avoid saying cut to or we go now to whatever. Not that there's nothing wrong with that, but I just thought this would be more fun.
It is. It's really fun.
Yeah, to keep it in the story, even though everyone's laughing, and it's not like we never break, and we don't step outside of it ever. But it's because it's completely an audio medium. I thought those sound effects would be a more like a fun and interesting way to accomplish moving around in space and time.
I think it works, Paul.
Thank you very much.
But it makes it harder to travel with the show because you have to take the buttons out.
It's a pain in the ass. Yeah. I have this electronic machine that looks like it could be attached to a bomb, but it's not. And I put it in the most brightly colored case I could, as if to say, this is not a thing you have to worry about. But traveling with it is a pain in the ass.
I have to say, I always thought that case was for fashion, like the color of it, because you're such a fashionable guy, but like now that you say that makes so much sense.
I mean, I don't hate it, but I don't hate the way that it looks, but it's a bright yellow case with Spontaneation stickers on it.
Yeah.
And I thought a black case would probably invite too much scrutiny. I'm just trying to hide in plain sight, I guess.
So you've been traveling with Spontaneity Nation over the past couple years.
Yeah, we've been to a bunch of different places, and it's been really. That is a really fun thing. That because it's you know, to bring the people that I know from Los Angeles to other cities and do the show there. It's been really fun, and you know, and fans have really enjoyed it, and you know, it does become a very special thing.
Yeah. And so I think the last time we talked, and when Spontaneity Nation started, you were doing it regularly at Largo as well. So you were doing live performances as well as the in-studio ones. And since then, you've just been doing the in-studio and traveling. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now you're actually performing more outside of Spontaneity, improvising more outside of Spontaneity Nation. And so I was just wondering, is there a difference for you in those settings?
No.
From like, you know, the UCT stage to the studio?
I'm at the point now where I can say not really. It's if anything, it's like, oh, this is great. This doesn't all fall to me to put this show on. You know, I can just show up and be another guy on the show. You know, which is nice. I do sometimes have to fight my Spontaneity Nation instincts. Like if we're just doing a regular show where it's like we're gonna be doing a bunch of different scenes and stuff like that, I have to remember that. Oh, that's over. We're on to this thing now where that story is done and it's not coming back. You know, because it always happens at the beginning of a show, I start to think about the scene that's currently happening, like, okay, and then we'll go here, and then it's like, no, people have moved on to something else.
Right.
And so I have to it takes me like a couple minutes to get into the headspace of, you know, what we're doing.
Okay, cool. So for you then, when you are on stage and you're doing more of like a montage as opposed to something narrative, what are the things that you are thinking in the scene? If you're trying to avoid thinking about plot.
At first I want to get into the complete story of these characters that are happening right now. Yeah. And it's like, that's not why we're there. So then when I adjust, I'm torn between listening as hard as I can and just being entertained by my friends on stage. And so I'll snap myself out of it by laughing, and then it's like, you're not the audience. You have to like pay attention to what's happening. Don't just be enjoying this. Like, you have to look for ways that you can maybe contribute to the show. So that's a constant disciplinary thing that I go through.
So I think the first time I improvised with you on stage was at the Detroit Improv Festival. Jacqueline's here. Remember Jacqueline? I think that's true. I think that's the first time we improvised together on stage.
I believe that it was, yeah. No, it was. It absolutely was. Yes, it was at that All-Star show. Yeah.
And Craig and I were like, oh, Paul's going to improvise with us. This is so great. Like, you know, and we knew...
Our neighbor. We live in the same neighborhood.
So we were like, oh, this is going to be really interesting for me. You had already improvised with him a few times.
But not with Jacqueline, not with Joe, whoever else was on that show.
Yeah,
There was a bunch of people that I just was meeting for the first time. Yeah.
And so honestly, I was like, what's Paul going to do? Like, how's this going to go? Not like he would mess it up, because he's hilarious.
I mean, is he going to freak out?
What
if he throws up on stage?
No, I got so excited, like, is he going to sweep edit? Like, is he going to run across the stage? Like, I just couldn't wrap my mind around that.
That's like you with the buttons. I don't know that I've ever done a sweep edit.
Really?
I don't know that I ever have. I feel like if other people are doing a scene, I am so terrified, because I think one time I tried to, I think I started to, and then the scene was, like, it was clearly not over. And I panicked and I turned around and I ran away.
Have you ever done a tag out?
Oh yeah.
You have.
Tag outside line.
You like this. Okay.
Tag outside line. I tend to think of them after the moment has passed. And it's like, you stop thinking about that. That's done too. You can't, that one person's not there anymore. So you can't, and there's no way to bring them back.
Unless you point at them and make them come out. Yeah, no, that's really fascinating to me. The actual technical maneuvers of doing it on stage versus doing it in the podcast. And when I'm podcasting and improvising, I've gotten much better at it. But I'm not like a voice lady, you know.
That's always a funny thing to me, especially doing an improv podcast.
Yeah.
Is when people don't do voices.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're still playing several characters, and it's like, all right, you understand that. There are people listening to this. You have to give some indication you're a different guy now.
I think yesterday when we were doing it, I was for sure the old lady still. And I said something, and Paul Torrey said, "Who are you?"
Because that was more of a time issue.
No,
I knew you were the same character, but it's like, you would not be here.
But I was Paul.
But you were.
Yeah.
And I think I dealt with it. Fantastic.
You did.
Who are you?
I said, I'm an old lady. The old lady. Yeah. So are there any other things like that you've noticed the difference between podcasting? Because improvised podcasts are a part of the culture now, and obviously.
Yeah.
But something I've noticed recently is that a lot of my newer students, improv students, are being introduced to improv through these podcasts, which is a total shift, I think, in the last 5 years of how people find improv. And so it's really that's what they're used to hearing, and so then they'll come to class and think that it's going to be the same way, and it's different when you're actually doing it on stage.
Yeah.
So besides like the technical stuff, are there other things that you've noticed that are different for you?
I mean, honestly, it's to be in front of people as opposed to being closed off in a room. Of course, that's a world of difference. And a regular thing that I would tell people before we would do live spontaneations was, remember to narrate your actions. If you're doing something that's purely physical, just try to throw something in there that gives just some idea of what's going on. And if you're not doing it, if you see somebody else doing it, then maybe you could help out and say, "Why are you hitting me?" or something like that. Just something so that the listener's not like, "I guess that was funny." But it's also, I think that it's much more about the energy. It's much more about the energy, and when you are when you're just sitting in a room together and there's no audience, you can maintain eye contact at all times. You're so close to each other, and it's a little I don't know. I almost feel like that makes it more difficult to communicate stuff because the pressure of the audience makes everyone get there faster. I think, even though I still fuck up. Like I remember doing a live show with Carl Tart, and we were doing this scene where it was like a callback to something, and we kept like doing this runner, and I had in my head this idea, and I realized too late what the problem was with that idea, because I had disregarded something that I misunderstood something that Carl had said. And we were not on the same page. And Carl, I think, knew what was going on and was trying to get us back there. And later I was like, "Oh yeah, that was wrong." I was like, I fucked that up. I don't know why people were still laughing, because it was wrong.
Yeah.
But I think that it is that the survival instinct that you kind of get to where you need to go faster with people, and you also, if something's not reading, you get past that faster. And get into something where you're on the same page again. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. That's very interesting. Yeah. And there is something about being in front of the audience too that that nervousness or that adrenaline, which I guess is kind of what you were just saying, distracts you for a second.
Yeah, for sure. Right. But you also have, I will say that with live shows, you have the cushion at least of laughter. So there are a lot of times where you have a moment, even if it's just a second, to kind of gather your thoughts, because you can't talk over the laughs, and In the studio, it's like you just have to fill up all that space.
Yeah.
You have to fill up all that space.
Yes, yes. I feel like it goes really fast sometimes for me in the studio.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are we now? What's going on?
Yeah.
You know, and I, as an improviser, am someone who relies on my physicality and my emotional reactions on stage. It gives me a chance to kind of, what you're saying, catch up with whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Very interesting, Paul. I feel like we've learned a lot. We still have 15 minutes. Okay, so I'll cut this out
All right, okay.
if you don't want to talk about this, but I was
Oh boy. What is this going on?
What is your deepest regret? I had heard that Spontaneation, you're going to be ending it. Is that true?
I'm wrapping it up at episode 200, yes.
Oh, where are you now on it?
We just recorded 192.
So we're close.
We're close. We're close to the end of recording. The last episode will drop in January.
And then after that, do you still plan? This is the part you might not want to say, and that's fine.
No, that's fine.
Do you still think you'll tour, or do you not know?
I don't know. I don't know. I definitely want to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
But I love doing the show. I think I need just a little break from it, but I would like to do it live on occasion.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't mapped that out yet. I also don't know what I want to do next in terms of podcasting, so I'm trying to figure that out now.
Yeah. Well, this was a long run for Spontaneation, so...
This is the longest run I've done of anything.
Really?
Like a project of my own, this is the longest I've ever done
great.
something. Yeah.
That's really
That's it.
Paul, I love you!
Oh, a whole 3 years! Oh, baby needs a nap now. It is. I get restless, and I get, I think it's, for me, it's once I get familiar with a format. I call it the tyranny of the template, and I've done various shows, live shows, recorded shows, where it's all fresh and new when you first start a thing, and you're learning, you're discovering, you're exploring the creativity of it. But then when you realize, like, I gotta refill these same acts every time, then the bloom is off the rose, and then it's like then it feels like homework, and it's like I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. The thing about this show is that it never stops being fun when I'm doing it. So like the lead up, all the logistics of it and all that shit, I don't want to do anymore. But when I get in that room with the people, it's fun every single time. I think there's maybe only one episode that I walked away from not in a better mood than I went in, and that was
I in it?
I don't believe
That's
so.
my nightmare.
I don't believe so. I think it was just that whatever mood I started in, there was just no getting past that mood. And
I see.
But I remember noting it like, wow, that did not make me feel better. But everything else, there are things that, creative endeavors where the producing got in the way of it, and I would walk off the stage feeling like, yeah, I didn't enjoy that. The show didn't make me have fun because I'm just tired. I'm tired of this thing. So I don't know. I don't know.
Organize for sure.
It is, yeah. And I'd never done a weekly thing before either. Like I had done monthly shows. I had done shows that came out whenever. But this was the first time I did a thing that came out on a weekly basis, and it's even more surprising to me that it took me this long to feel like I wanted to move on to a different format.
I will say the production value is really impressive within
Thank you.
Let's pull back the curtain for a second here. Oh, and he walked.
Don't tell anyone you heard this, guys. This is behind the curtain stuff.
I'll cut this out. You walk in and there are candles on the table.
That's right. It's
not like that. Just like to relax you.
Yeah. Normally you go to a podcast studio and it feels like you're in a weird office and it's unpleasant. So what I wanted to do was make the lighting softer in there so that it feels more intimate and we feel like more of a connection, and it's just a more pleasant place to be.
I think you're right.
But that's also annoying to have to set all that shit up.
Well, yeah, because he has all these candles, and they're not like the, what am I trying to say? They're not the fire candles.
They're not the fire kind.
They're the battery operated.
They're electronic candles, but they have the fake moving.
And it moves like this.
They're really good.
They're great.
They've made great advances in fake wig technology.
And you paid a lot of attention to that because even yesterday the sound engineer had the lights on too high.
Because we were in a new studio. Earwolf moved studios, and they're the same building, just a couple floors down. And so, and it's much nicer. It's like the engineer is in a separate room, like a real recording studio. You know, you can see him through the glass, but he has his own lighting. And I was like, I'm going to give you a couple candles to put in here so you can turn off your overhead light. And he did. And it was great.
He was fine with it.
Yeah, he was.
I didn't notice it, and then you said it, and I was like, I totally noticed that now. But he also has a leather journal that you have all the guests write in.
Yeah, that's where we get the questions for that start the interviews and where we get the locations and all that. And I thought it would be fun to just as opposed to just have people write it on a dry erase board or something, like to keep all the suggestions, and I have people's autographs and everything, and it's
You can sell that shit.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I thought about auctioning it off for charity or something.
Nice guy, I told you. And then the third thing he does that is really impressive to me is he provides everyone with a spontaneation pin if it's the first time they've done it. Isn't that nice?
It's a little lapel pin that all I ask is that you do not throw it away in front of me. Please take this off-site if you're going to throw it away. Because I've seen a couple left behind.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, live shows, yeah.
Do you take notes of who it was?
Don't need to take notes, I'll always remember.
Yeah.
It's 2 people.
Oh really?
It's 2 people.
Will you tell us?
I will not say their names.
Later maybe?
I'll tell you later.
Good. Cool. So when Spontaneation wraps, you're going to figure out your next thing.
Okay.
We've got about 10 minutes. Are you good? Are you bored?
I'm good and bored.
You're bored? Oh God. When it wraps, or do you think your new project will be improv related, or you really don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know.
I won't pressure you for an answer.
Thank you. Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, my this is the problem, is that I want to do something that's more stripped down, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something that's maybe just me and another person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's an interview thing. Maybe it's, current events. I don't know. Maybe it's just purely comedy. I don't know. But every time I start thinking about it, I start thinking of more and more complicated things to do. Because that's the disease of my brain, is that I only want to do things that require a lot of work, and I don't know how to not. This was supposed to be something that didn't require a lot of work. Spontaneation was supposed to be
you were talking
improv
about
podcast.
this.
You go in, this is a chore, Carla. Spontaneation was supposed to be something that it's like, just record it. And then, we record for an hour, no edits. When it's done, it's over. And for me, that was a real challenge, because I am a control freak and I do obsess over things. And I'll tweak something forever, And I wanted something where it would make me let go. It would make me, I would put a thing out, warts and all, and if it was good, it was good. If it was not good, it was not good, and that was it. And the idea was, there will be another one. So maybe I didn't do my best on this. Maybe I did. I could have done better. I learned, hopefully get better on the next one. But the idea was I couldn't be precious about it. I had to just let it go. But I added the fucking piano and the sound effects and the lighting and all that. So, I will always find a way to complicate it for myself.
Yeah. Well, I think there's probably a lot of pressure, though, too, for you, because you are so well known, and people expect a certain, our first conversation on Improv Yak is coming back to me, and I remember you talking about how you wanted to challenge yourself and try something new, and like you were just saying, learn as you went along. I would imagine that being as established as you are, that's brave, in a sense, because you are stepping out and saying, I might not be good at this right now, but I'm going to do it publicly. I don't know, that wasn't a question.
No, well...
I was giving you a compliment, I think.
Let me give you an answer nonetheless.
Great, thank you.
Two big life experiences for me were, first recording my first comedy album, my first stand-up album, which I didn't expect that this would happen, but backstage before I went out to perform, I was more nervous than I had been in years, like since I started. I was freaking out, and I realized that it was the idea of recording this stuff for posterity and thinking this will be the record of this material, and not only that, like, so I have to get it right, but what if I put this out and no one cares? Like, people are like, that didn't do it for me. And then am I done doing albums? Like, do I just not do it again? What? I was so scared of what would happen in the face of that rejection, that it made it difficult to go out on stage. And it was also, I was backstage at the UCB Franklin alone, which I never am. Like, anytime I've been there, there's always been other people. We're doing some show waiting to go on. I was all by myself, and I was freaking out. And so I realized, I have to do it anyway, and I have to give a good performance, and I have to let it go. I have to just let it, I have to let what is going to happen, whether it's good or bad. It turned out fine, thank God, but I retained that lesson. The other one was, I had not been doing improv long. I don't think I'd even started doing spontaneation yet. I think I had done a few, at this point, just a few improv shows. One of which being First Time with Khaki with Craig Kakowski, which was absolutely led to me doing spontaneation. Like, I'd done Super Ego, but Super Ego is a very controlled environment. It's edited. So this was different. I was going to do this show called Snow Pants that Ben Schwartz puts on at UCB Franklin. And the idea in that show is he gets established improvisers with people who have done little to no improv. And I was one of the little to nos. And so I was backstage, and the other little to no improv person was Jane Fonda. And so it's already weird. Like, okay, Jane Fonda's here. And so, she's hanging out, and she's in her 70s, and somebody said, how are you feeling about the show? And she said, I'm terrified. And we went out there, and Ben introduces the show, and they say, okay, let's go. Jane Fonda was the first person off the wall to go into a scene. And I was like, I was blown away, and I was like, that is absolutely how I want to be, is I always want to be challenging myself. I always want to be putting myself in situations where I'm scared. But a thing I haven't done before, I don't want to ever lose that. And to see somebody else who had not lost that was such a lesson. It was such a you couldn't ignore it as a lesson. You couldn't ignore it as, this is the way it's supposed to be. If you really care about being creative, this is what you're supposed to do. And I thought about it when I was doing spontaneation. It was like, I don't know if people are going to like this. I have no idea. Like, I did a podcast before that got a lot of attention, and then I stopped doing it, and then in the intervening years, like, the landscape had blown up, and I was like, I'm going to throw this dumb thing out there. I don't know what people are going to think about it. And of course some people didn't like it. Of course some people were like, this is not funny. He's best when he's with other people doing characters, blah, blah, blah. Like, people came at it from all different angles, but there were people that liked it. And I was like, well, you have to trust that if you mostly know what you are doing, we live in a world where you can find the people that will like the thing that you do. And especially if you're doing it with other people, it makes it a million times easier that you have people that you can rely on and people that are there to elevate you. The biggest lesson to me, the thing that is the most reassuring to me about improv, and the thing I love the most about it, is that at its best, everyone on the stage, everyone in that room is working together to make the best possible thing. That to me is all I've ever wanted out of working with people, is that we're a team, that we're all working together, we're all excited about the thing that we're doing. Yeah, I mean, that's what it should be, that's what it should be. And, improv, I think, is one of the few places where you can even come close to guaranteeing that everyone is on the same page, in that way. Because there's a lot of creative forms where it's like, everyone's trying to win,
Yeah.
And, man, to be to be on a stage with other people where it's not about that, and people are just trying to make it good, it's like, that's all I want, you know? That's all I want. Whether it's me by myself or with other people.
Aw, that's awesome. On that note, should we improvise?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
We'll stay seated. Sound good? The Zoom's not on. It doesn't work. The one up there is. Okay, so Paul and I will improvise for you now. Can we have a suggestion of, what's a feeling that surprised you that you had recently? A feeling.
Denial.
Denial. Great. I can't wait to do this yes and improv scene with a suggestion of denial. Thank you. Thank you. I did not take your $20.
I mean, that would be more believable if I couldn't see that you have $20 in your hand.
I do have $20 in my hand. Doesn't mean it's yours. You know, just means that I maybe earned it. I am an independent teenage girl who can make money any way she wants to.
Where in your teens would you say you fall?
16 and a half?
16 and a half.
Yeah. Is that unbelievable to you?
That does unbelievable to me.
Pretty sure I'm 16 and a half. I was born in 2002.
Let me ask you this.
Ask away.
Do you have your driver's license yet?
Well, yes,
Okay.
I do.
All right. May I see that driver's license?
Okay, I'll look for it. I forgot it in my car because I keep it in my car because it's a car thing.
Right. So you keep car things in the car.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Car things like gasoline stay in the car, like an engine.
So you,
for a car.
Oh, so you don't store those things elsewhere.
Nope.
You keep them in the car.
I keep them in the car.
So logic dictates that's where you keep your license.
That is correct.
Okay.
Uncle Henry, I'm having a great summer vacation.
Okay, look. What kind of car do you have?
I have an Audi.
Really? And how did you come to have this car?
I bought it with the money that I earned.
What job do you have that you were able to afford at 16 and a half, excuse me, an Audi?
I move money around for a living.
Look, I'm going to ask you a question.
I will try to be honest.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to really try to be honest.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not answering any personal questions.
Well, then why would you need to try to be honest?
I see your point, Uncle Henry. What is the question?
Could you please stop calling me Uncle Henry?
You're my uncle by marriage.
I don't know that that's been proven. All right, here's my question. Who was president when you were born?
It was obviously, it was George Bush.
Which one?
The second one.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Who is, I have another question for you. And again, answer as honestly as you possibly can, and honor the answer with your honesty. What is Beyonce's sister's name?
Solange. I feel like you brought brought that up because one time we played a game and you put in a clue and I couldn't guess it, but I was drunk.
That could be. That could be. I don't know that I remember the night in question, but I don't remember every night of my life, so.
Sure.
Okay. Let me ask you this question.
I can't wait.
What do you plan to do when you retire?
When I retire?
Yeah.
I plan to vacation.
Mm-hmm. Where?
Bali. That's a place.
Sure it is. Sure it is. It's every 16-and-a-half-year-old's dream to go to Bali.
All right, I stole this money from your wallet.
Thank you.
Paul and I once played a game and I didn't know Solange was the answer.
It was a game. I hated this game so much because it was a game I don't like. It was a version of Celebrity where you have to guess celebrity names. But it's the kind where you have to do the charades. It's like, I don't want to do the I don't like to do performance-y stuff just at a party with friends. Like that to me is like giving a toast at a wedding. It's like when you have to do performance things outside of performance areas, it makes me mortified.
Yeah.
And so and everyone else was great at it. All the non-performers were great at it. And so I had to charade for Carla Solange Knowles. And let me tell you something, I did not put that in there. I don't know who the fuck put that in there, but I hate them.
I think it was my husband.
Yeah, might have been your husband. And it was bad, and I might have been drunk too, and we both got annoyed.
We got in a fight. I mean,
a fight is generous.
We got mad at each other.
Yeah.
To the point where we texted each other later, like, I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Carla said for me the number one button pushy thing, which is, who would know that?
Which now it's like everybody knows that. But I didn't at the time. Anyway, this has been really fun. Thank you, Paul F. Tom.
Carla, thank you.
You don't ever forget it. Thank you all so much for coming. Paul, Spontaneous Nation, obviously.
Yes, Mondays on Earwolf, and then, we'll be doing the Bajillionaires at UCB Franklin, Tuesday, November 20th. And then we got Spontaneous Nation shows coming up in Brooklyn next month. It's a weekend of Super Ego and Spontaneous Nation Live at the Bell House, my favorite venue in the country. Go to paulftompkins.com/live.
and so they shall. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Westside Comics.